Joining us now is ABC News contributor and former Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor to President Trump, Tom Bossert. Tom, thanks so much for joining us tonight. So let's just be direct here. How grave is the threat that the United States is facing now in terms of a cyber attack?
You know, I was in charge of our country's cybersecurity policy and strategy for 2 different presidents. And the real bottom line here, although everyone that has spoken tonight is right, the bottom line is that this country, taken as a whole, is not ready for a massive cyber attack, and in some ways, not sure of how to think of it. I heard a lot of focus on our industrial control systems, certainly something we're worried about. But think back to this past summer when hackers looking for ransom shut down, Russian-affiliated ones, shut down our colonial pipeline. They did that by shutting down their billing system, not by shutting down their industrial controls. It's the same thing. They achieved the same effect, and they got into far less guarded, IT systems by taking on their billing system. So my bottom line is the country really isn't ready for large-scale cyber attacks. Most businesses in this country are very vulnerable, despite all of the good work being done by the federal government. The federal government's not protecting directly their networks.
But Tom, I'm curious, I guess the question is why not? I mean, when we're talking about the pipeline, that was last summer. We're almost a year now from that time. It would seem that companies at that point would start saying, let's start shoring up our systems.
You know, some do, some don't. It's a pretty complicated situation. But the vulnerabilities that exist in computer software, in operating systems are often unknown to the people using them. And they're known to the bad guys like the Russians who are so advanced. They use those exploitations at a time of their choosing. And here's what's really troubling. Think about in 2017, the Russians launched ostensibly a cyber attack against the Ukrainian economy, crippling many of the companies that do business in Ukraine. Now, that could have been their only objective. It's still uncertain. But the vulnerabilities they went after and the way they crafted that cyber attack spread unchecked across the globe in 2017. It was the largest cyber attack in history. It cost over $10 billion worth of losses that were all subject to various litigation, insurance claims, and whatnot. But it closed port operations for a couple days in the United States. It shut down FedEx operations in Europe, all as what they thought of as side effects from their attack on Ukraine. At this point, clearly Putin wants to not only design things to cripple Ukraine, but he would welcome the side effects of crippling the West. And so it wouldn't really be a bug in his attack. It would be a feature. I fear that $10 billion worth of cyber losses and shut operations, especially while tensions are high, could lead to a significant call on our political leaders to escalate.
As an expert in the cybersecurity space, what kinds of things are you right now keeping a particularly close eye on?
I'm really looking at cyber. I run a cyber company. We're doing a lot to shore up these defenses. And then as a former Homeland Security advisor, I'm really worried about some of the more alarming claims that we heard from President Putin. He made some pretty direct, overt threats to the United States, making claims that many are interpreting as nuclear. But I think we have to also allow for another interpretation. He suggested that we would suffer consequences like we've never suffered before in our country. It's a classic move on his part out of a Russian playbook to threaten the enemy in their rear guard, so to speak, that you can reach them anywhere and hit any of their critical targets. But it might also be the kind of thing that could come with a conventional weapon, a conventional warhead delivered with a hypersonic missile that doesn't trigger all the normal nuclear calculus, but it does cause a devastating loss of life. I don't think he's there yet, and really attacking the United States is a significant escalation I don't think he's ready for. But the fact that he threatened it, it keeps me thinking it would have me planning if I were back in the White House.
Is there anything that people can do on a personal level to possibly decrease their chances of falling victim to any possible attacks?
Well, I think there's a lot of things people can do. I think part of this is to rally behind the cause. I think part of it is to make sure that they're not spreading, at least intentionally, misinformation. And of course, I think people are going to have to get ready for some increased prices at the pump, at the gas pump. not so much they can do to get ready for it, but to the extent that they can prepare to change their household budgets. I think we're going to see it, and we're going to see it for several months.
Tom Bossert, our thanks to you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.